mirror told lies. At least that was what they said. Margot Winters stood before the looking-glass in the dim morning light. Her fingers traced the scar that ran from her left temple to her jaw. The mark of the fire that took her parents 5 years ago. The mark that made her aunt turn away in disgust. The mark that meant no man would ever want her. "Hideous creature," her cousin Lavinia said from the doorway. "Hurry up. The Duke arrives today, and you'll need to stay hidden." Margot's hands dropped to her sides. She was 24 now, too old, too scarred, too much a burden on her aunt's household. She spent her days in the kitchen or the attic, away from guests, away from sight. "Yes, Lavinia," she whispered. Her cousin swept away in a rustle of expensive silk. Margot heard laughter from downstairs. They were preparing for the Duke of Thornwick. He was coming to choose a bride. Lavinia had been preening for weeks. Margot tied her hair back and covered her scar with a bonnet. She slipped down the servants' stairs to the kitchen. Cook smiled at her. Cook was the only one who showed her kindness. "Morning, dear," Cook said. "Don't let them get to you." But they already had. Every day they did. Margot spent the morning scrubbing floors on her hands and knees. Her aunt found work for her everywhere, said she needed to earn her keep. The other servants whispered about it. A lady of birth, reduced to this. But what could she do? She had no money, no prospects, no future. Through the window she heard horses. The Duke had arrived. She pressed herself against the wall, making herself small, making herself invisible. That was her talent now. Disappearing. Later, she carried linens up the back stairs. Her arms ached. The pile was heavy. She rounded a corner and crashed into something solid. The linens scattered everywhere. "Forgive me," she gasped, dropping to gather them. A man's hand appeared in her vision. He picked up a fallen sheet. Margot's breath caught. She knew those clothes, that signet ring. She didn't dare look up. "The fault was mine," a deep voice said. "I wasn't watching where I walked." The Duke of Thornwick was apologizing to her. Impossible. Margot grabbed the linens and stood, keeping her scarred side turned away. "No harm done, my lord." She tried to flee, but he spoke again. "Wait, you're hurt." She had scraped her palm when she fell. Blood welled from the cut. Before she could protest, he pulled out a handkerchief. His hand caught hers. His touch was gentle, warm. "Allow me," he said. Margot stood frozen as he wrapped her hand. His head was bent close to hers. She could smell leather and pine. His fingers worked carefully, as if she were something precious. No one had touched her with gentleness in years. "There," he said softly. "That should help." She finally looked at his face. He was younger than she expected, perhaps 30. Dark hair fell across his brow. His eyes were grey like storm clouds. But there was something sad in them, something lonely. Their eyes met for just a moment. His gaze held hers. She saw surprise flicker across his features. Then she remembered herself and turned away, showing her scarred cheek. "Thank you, Your Grace." She curtsied clumsily and ran. Behind her, she felt his eyes following, but that couldn't be. No one looked at her twice, especially not dukes. Alexander Hartwell, Duke of Thornwick, stood in the empty hallway. His hand still tingled where he'd touched hers. What was wrong with him? She was clearly a servant. He was here to choose a bride from the local gentry. He had a duty to his title, to his family name. But those eyes. He'd seen fear in them first, then surprise, then something that looked like longing. He'd noticed the scar, yes, but he'd also noticed the delicate curve of her face, the soft fullness of her lips, the way she'd trembled when he touched her, like a bird ready to take flight. "Your Grace!" a shrill voice called. "How delightful to see you exploring our home." A young woman appeared. She was beautiful in the way of expensive things, perfect curls, perfect dress, perfect smile. but her eyes were cold. "I am Lavinia Harrow," she said. "My mother mentioned I would have the honor of your company at dinner." "Indeed," he said politely. She talked as they walked, on and on, about fashion and society and the weather. Her voice grated on his nerves. He wasn't listening. He was thinking of brown eyes and scarred skin and trembling hands. He'd been alone for 2 years now, since his wife died, bringing their stillborn son into the world. The grief had nearly destroyed him. His family pressured him to remarry, to try again for an heir. He felt nothing but emptiness, until a few moments ago. That was ridiculous. He pushed the thought away, but it lingered, like smoke. The dinner was torture for Margot. She served in the dining room, keeping to the shadows. Her aunt had insisted, said they needed extra hands, but Margot knew the truth. Her aunt wanted to parade Lavinia's superiority. "Look at my beautiful daughter. Look at my ruined niece." The Duke sat at the head of the table. He barely spoke. Lavinia chattered enough for both of them. She leaned close to him. She laughed too loud. She touched his arm. He looked miserable. Margot poured wine with shaking hands. She kept her face turned away. But once, she glanced up. The Duke was watching her. His eyes were intense, searching. She nearly dropped the bottle. "Careful, you clumsy girl," her aunt snapped. "Forgive me, madam," Margot whispered. "The help these days," Lavinia said with a laugh. "So difficult to find good servants." Margot felt the heat of shame flood her cheeks. She wasn't a servant. She was family. But no one would know it from how they treated her. She retreated to the corner. The dinner dragged on, course after course. Her feet ached, her head pounded. She wanted to disappear. Finally, it ended. The ladies withdrew. Margot helped clear the table. In the kitchen, Cook patted her shoulder. "Rest now, dear," Cook said. "You've done enough." Margot climbed to her attic room. It was cold and bare, but it was hers. She sat on the narrow bed and unwrapped her hand. The Duke's handkerchief was still there, fine linen with his initials embroidered in silver thread. She held it to her cheek. It still smelled like him. She knew she should return it, but she couldn't. It was proof that someone had been kind to her, that someone had touched her gently. She fell asleep with it clutched in her hand. Alexander couldn't sleep. He stood at his bedroom window, looking out at the moonlit garden. The evening had been unbearable. Miss Harrow was exactly the sort of woman society expected him to marry. Wealthy, connected, beautiful. He'd felt nothing. But that servant girl. He couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she'd flinched when her aunt scolded her. The way she'd kept herself hidden in the shadows. The way her hand had trembled in his. Who was she? Why did she affect him this way? He was being foolish, he knew it. But loneliness did strange things to a man. He'd been empty for so long, going through the motions of life, doing his duty, feeling nothing. For the first time in 2 years, he'd felt something. A spark, a flicker of interest, of curiosity, of desire to know more. He needed to find out who she was. The next morning, Margot worked in the garden. Her aunt wanted fresh flowers for the vases. Margot didn't mind. The garden was peaceful. The roses were blooming, red and white and pink. She cut them carefully, avoiding the thorns. "Those are beautiful." She spun around. The Duke stood on the path. He was dressed for riding. His dark coat fit him perfectly. His cravat was tied simply. He looked powerful, commanding, everything she was not. "Your Grace," she stammered, "I didn't hear you approach." "I didn't mean to startle you." He stepped closer. "I wanted to return this." He held out her bonnet. She must have dropped it yesterday. Heat flooded her face. He'd seen her fully, scar and all. "Thank you," she whispered, reaching for it. He didn't let go right away. Their fingers touched. That same warmth spread through her. Is your name? He asked quietly. She shouldn't answer. She should run. But his eyes held her captive. Margot Winters, Your Grace. Winters, he repeated. Are you related to Mrs. Harrow? She is my aunt. My father was her brother. He died 5 years ago. I see. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, perhaps. And yet you serve in her household. Margot looked down. Shame burned in her chest. I have nowhere else to go, Your Grace. Silence stretched between them. She could feel him studying her. She wanted to hide. She wanted to flee. But she also wanted to stay. To be near him just a moment longer. You have a scar, he said softly. It wasn't a question. Her hand flew to her cheek. Yes, from a fire. I know it's unpleasant to look at. Don't. The command in his voice made her look up. His eyes were fierce. Don't do that, he said. Don't apologize for it. Don't hide from me. Her throat tightened. Why would you care, Your Grace? He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. I don't know, he said honestly, but I do. Footsteps sounded on the path. They both stepped back. Lavinia appeared, her face twisted with fury. There you are, Your Grace, she said brightly. I've been looking everywhere for you. Margot, Mother wants you inside. Now. Margot curtsied and fled, but she felt his eyes on her back. Watching. Always watching. That afternoon, Mrs. Harrow called Margot to her sitting room. Her aunt's face was red with anger. You spoke to the Duke, she hissed. I saw you in the garden. He spoke to me, Aunt. I couldn't ignore him. You will stay away from him. Do you understand? He's here for Lavinia, not for some scarred, ruined creature like you. The words cut deep, but Margot was used to them. She nodded silently. If I see you near him again, you'll be turned out, her aunt continued. You'll have nothing. No roof, no food, nothing. Is that what you want? No, Aunt. Then disappear. Go to the village. Deliver these letters. Don't come back until nightfall. Margot took the letters and left. She was grateful for the escape. The walk to the village was long, but the day was warm. She delivered the letters to various shops and homes. People stared at her scar. Children pointed. She was used to that too. On her way back, rain began to fall. Heavy drops that quickly soaked through her thin dress. She had no cloak. No umbrella. She huddled under a tree, shivering. The sound of a horse approached. She looked up to see the Duke on a magnificent black stallion. He pulled the animal to a stop and dismounted. Miss Winters, he said, you're soaked through. I'll be fine, Your Grace. He shrugged out of his riding coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. It was warm from his body. It smelled like him. She wanted to refuse, but her teeth were chattering. Thank you, she managed. Where were you going? Back to my aunt's house. It's miles away. He glanced at the darkening sky. The rain will only get worse. There's an inn nearby. We'll wait out the storm there. I couldn't, Your Grace. It wouldn't be proper. You'll catch your death if you try to walk in this weather. His voice was firm. I won't allow it. He helped her onto his horse, then mounted behind her. His arms came around her to hold the reins. She was pressed against his chest. Her heart pounded so hard she was sure he could feel it. They rode to the inn. The proprietor's eyes widened at the sight of the Duke, but he quickly prepared a private sitting room with a fire. Alexander guided Margot to a chair near the flames. Tea, please, he told the proprietor, and something warm to eat. When they were alone, he knelt before her. His hands rubbed warmth back into her cold fingers. Why were you out there alone? He asked. My aunt sent me on errands. In this weather? Margot said nothing. What could she say? That her aunt wanted her gone? That Lavinia was jealous of even brief conversations? that she was less than nothing in that house. "She treats you poorly," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Tears burned in Margot's eyes. She blinked them back. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." She looked at him then, really looked at him. His gray eyes were full of something she couldn't name. Concern, anger on her behalf, something deeper. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you care about me?" He opened his mouth to answer, but the proprietor returned with tea. The moment broke. Alexander stood and moved away, but the air between them felt charged, electric. They sat in silence drinking tea. The fire crackled. Rain pattered against the windows. It felt strangely intimate, peaceful, like they were the only two people in the world. "Tell me about yourself," he said finally. "Before the fire." No one ever asked about that. About who she'd been before. The words spilled out of her. She told him about her parents, her father's love of books, her mother's garden, the happy childhood that seemed like a dream now. "I was different then," she said softly. "I wasn't afraid. I wasn't broken." "You're not broken," he said fiercely. "You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. You don't know me, Your Grace. I want to." The intensity in his voice made her breath catch. "I want to know everything about you." The confession hung in the air between them. Margot's hands trembled. This couldn't be real. Dukes didn't care about scarred, penniless girls. This was a dream. It had to be. "The rain has stopped," he said, though he sounded reluctant. "I should get you home." Home. That cold, cruel place. She didn't want to go back. She wanted to stay here, in this warm room, with this man who looked at her like she mattered. But reality couldn't be escaped. The ride back was silent. Alexander helped her down from the horse at the edge of the property. His hands lingered at her waist. "Keep the coat," he said. "Return it when you're warm." "Your Grace, Alexander," he interrupted. "When we're alone, call me Alexander." Her eyes widened. That was impossibly familiar, impossibly improper, impossibly wonderful. "I can't," she whispered. "You can. You will." He smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him. It transformed his face, made him look younger, happier. "Say it." "Alexander," she breathed. His eyes darkened. His hand came up to cup her scarred cheek. She froze, expecting him to flinch, to pull away. But he didn't. His thumb traced the raised skin gently. "Beautiful," he murmured. Then he was gone, riding away into the twilight, leaving her standing there, trembling and confused, and full of a feeling she didn't dare name. That night, Mrs. Harrow summoned Margot again. Her aunt's face was purple with rage. "You were seen," she spat, "riding with the Duke, alone." "It was raining, Aunt. He was being kind." "Kind?" Her aunt laughed harshly. "Men like him are never kind to girls like you. He's playing with you, amusing himself." The words hit like blows, because part of Margot feared they were true. Why would a duke care about her? What could he possibly want? "Stay away from him," her aunt continued, "or I'll make good on my threat. You'll be out on the street. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Aunt." Margot fled to her room. She buried her face in Alexander's coat, breathing in his scent. Tears soaked the wool. Her aunt was right. This was foolish, impossible. He would marry Lavinia or someone like her. Margot was nothing. No one. But oh, how she wished she could be someone. For him. Alexander paced his bedroom like a caged animal. What was he doing? He'd come here to find a suitable wife. Instead, he was obsessing over a girl with no money, no connections, nothing society valued, but she had something none of those perfect ladies had. She had warmth, honesty, strength that came from surviving. She looked at him with no expectations, no calculations, just genuine feeling. And he was feeling too, feeling for the first time since grief had hollowed him out. She was bringing him back to life. He couldn't let her go, he wouldn't. But how could he pursue her? Society would be scandalized, his family would be horrified, and Mrs. Harrow clearly treated Margot abominably. If he showed interest, the woman might take it out on her niece. He needed a plan, a way to protect Margot while claiming her for himself. An idea formed. Reckless, outrageous, perfect. He would marry her. The next morning, Alexander requested a private audience with Mrs. Harrow. The woman preened, clearly expecting a proposal for her daughter. "Mrs. Harrow," he said formally, "I wish to discuss your niece." Her face froze. "My niece?" "Miss Margot Winters. I would like your permission to court her." Silence. Then Mrs. Harrow laughed. Actually laughed. "Court Margot? Your Grace, surely you jest. She's scarred, penniless, no one of consequence." "She's a gentleman's daughter," Alexander said coldly, "and I don't jest. I'm quite serious." The laughter died. Mrs. Harrow's eyes narrowed. "What game is this?" "No game. I find your niece remarkable. I wish to know her better." "Absolutely not. I won't allow it." "You won't allow it?" Alexander stood, using his full height and title to intimidate. "I'm a duke, madam. I don't require your permission. I was being courteous by asking." Mrs. Harrow paled. But Lavinia..." "Your daughter is lovely, but we don't suit. However, if you refuse my request regarding Miss Winters, I will make it known in society that you treat your orphaned niece as a servant. I wonder how that will reflect on your family's reputation." It was a threat, a clear one. Mrs. Harrow's face turned red, then white. "What exactly are you proposing, Your Grace?" "I'm proposing marriage. I want to make Miss Winters my Duchess." The words hung in the air. Mrs. Harrow looked like she might faint. "She'll never agree," the woman said finally. "She knows her place." "Let me worry about that. Do I have your consent?" What choice did she have? None. Mrs. Harrow nodded stiffly. "Good. Please send Miss Winters to the library. I wish to speak with her. Alone." Mrs. Harrow left, radiating fury. Alexander waited, his heart pounding. Would Margot even want this? Or would she think he pitied her? He had to make her understand. This wasn't charity, this was need. Margot stood outside the library, her hand on the doorknob. Her aunt had practically shoved her here, hissing that the Duke wanted to speak with her. She was terrified. Had he complained about yesterday? Was she in trouble? She pushed open the door. Alexander stood by the window. The morning light made his dark hair shine. He turned when she entered. His expression was serious. "Your Grace," she curtsied. "Margot." He crossed to her. "Please, sit." She perched on the edge of a chair, her hands twisted in her lap. He sat across from her, leaning forward. "I have something to ask you," he said. "Please hear me out before you answer." She nodded, confused. "I want to marry you." The world stopped. Margot stared at him. She must have misheard. That was impossible, completely impossible. "What?" she whispered. "I know it's sudden. I know we barely know each other. But I feel something for you. Something I haven't felt in years. You make me want to live again." "You're jesting," she said faintly. "This is cruel, Your Grace." "Alexander," he corrected, "and I've never been more serious. I want you to be my Duchess." Tears filled her eyes. "Why? Why would you want me? I'm nobody, nothing, scarred and poor and..." He moved to kneel before her, taking her hands in his. You're everything. You're kind and brave and beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Don't argue with me. Your family will hate this. Society will mock you. I don't care about them. I care about you. His grip tightened. Say yes, Margot, please. Let me take you away from here. Let me give you the life you deserve. She looked into his eyes. She saw truth there, sincerity, and something that looked like desperate hope. I'm afraid, she admitted. What if you change your mind? What if you regret it? I won't. I promise you, I won't. He brought her hands to his lips, kissing her scraped knuckles. Trust me. Did she dare? Could she dare? This was everything she'd stopped letting herself dream about. Love, safety, a home. But the risk was terrifying. I don't understand why you want this, she said softly. Because you see me, he said simply. Not my title, not my wealth, me. And I see you, the real you, and I want that. I want you. A tear slipped down her cheek. He caught it with his thumb. Say yes, he murmured. Please. She took a shaky breath. This was madness. Beautiful, terrifying madness. But she was so tired of being alone, of being unloved. He was offering her everything. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. The smile that broke across his face was like the sun. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close. She felt his heart racing against hers. This was real. This was happening. Thank you, he breathed into her hair. Thank you. They were married 3 days later. Special license procured. Small ceremony in the chapel. Mrs. Harrow and Lavinia attended with frozen faces. The vicar looked confused but performed his duty. Margot wore a simple dress that Alexander had insisted on buying for her. Cream silk with tiny flowers embroidered at the hem. She felt like a princess, like someone worth something. When Alexander slipped the ring on her finger, his hand was steady. Hers shook. He smiled at her, warm and reassuring. I, Alexander James Hartwell, take thee, Margot Elizabeth Winters, to be my wedded wife, he said clearly. To have and to hold from this day forward. She repeated her vows in a trembling voice, and then it was done. She was a duchess. The Duke of Thornwick's wife. It felt like a dream. He kissed her softly when the vicar pronounced them wed. His lips were gentle, reverent, like she was precious. They rode to his estate in silence. Margot clutched his hand in the carriage. Reality was setting in. She was married. To this man she barely knew. What if he expected things she couldn't give? What if she disappointed him? Thornwick Hall rose before them like something from a fairy tale. Grey stone and towers and beautiful gardens. It was enormous, intimidating. Don't be afraid, Alexander said, reading her expression. This is your home now. Home. Such a foreign word. The staff lined up to meet their new duchess. Housekeeper, butler, countless maids and footmen. They all bowed and curtsied. They called her, Your Grace. It felt wrong, impossible. Alexander led her inside, through marble halls and elegant rooms, up a grand staircase, to a suite of rooms that he said were hers. The Duchess's chambers, he explained. They connect to mine through that door, but I won't intrude. You set the pace, Margot. I meant what I said. I want you comfortable here. He was giving her space, privacy, when he could have demanded his rights as a husband. Gratitude flooded her. Thank you, she whispered. He cupped her face, his thumb tracing her scar again in that gentle way he had. Get some rest. We'll have dinner together later, just the two of us. He left her alone. Margot stood in the middle of the beautiful room and tried not to cry. Was this real? Could it last? Or would she wake up to find it all a dream? Dinner was served in a small, intimate dining room, just a table for two by the fireplace. Alexander had changed into evening clothes. He looked devastatingly handsome. Margot wore another new dress he'd provided, soft blue silk that made her feel pretty. "You look beautiful," he said when she entered. She blushed. "You don't have to say that." "I never say things I don't mean." He pulled out her chair. "Please, sit." The meal was delicious, though Margot could barely eat. She was too aware of him across the small table, too aware that they were married, that this was her life now. "Tell me about Thornwick Hall," she said, needing to fill the silence. "How long has it been in your family?" He relaxed, clearly grateful for the topic. He told her about the house's history, about his ancestors, about the lands and tenants. His voice was warm when he spoke of the estate. This place mattered to him. "It's been lonely here," he admitted finally. "Since my wife died, I couldn't bear the emptiness." "What was she like?" Margot asked softly. Pain crossed his face. "Kind, gentle. We were fond of each other, though it wasn't a love match. Her death—" He stopped, swallowed. "She died bringing our son into the world. He didn't survive either." "I'm so sorry," Margot breathed. Her heart ached for him. "I blamed myself. I withdrew from everything, everyone. I was going through the motions of living without really living." He looked at her. "Until I met you." "I don't understand what you see in me," she confessed. "I see strength. I see someone who survived terrible things and kept her kindness. I see someone who doesn't want me for my title or money. I see someone who looks at me like I'm just a man." He reached across the table for her hand. "You make me feel alive again." Margot's throat tightened. "You make me feel seen. For the first time since the fire, someone looks at me and doesn't turn away." "I'll never turn away," he promised. "I'll spend every day proving that to you." They finished dinner in comfortable silence. Then he walked her to her door. "Good night, Margot," he said softly. "Good night, Alexander." Using his name still felt daring, intimate. He smiled as if he liked hearing it from her lips. "Sleep well, wife." Wife. The word sent warmth through her. She slipped into her room and leaned against the door. This was real. This was her life. And maybe, just maybe, it could be happy. The next weeks passed in a haze of wonder. Alexander showed Margot every corner of the estate. They rode through the parkland on gentle horses. They walked through gardens full of roses and lavender. They sat in the library reading together in companionable silence. He was patient, kind, never demanding. He held her hand when they walked. He kissed her forehead goodnight. But he didn't push for more. He was letting her adjust, letting her trust him. And she was starting to. Trust him. Care for him. Maybe even love him. She learned his habits. He woke early and rode before breakfast. He spent mornings managing estate business. Afternoons he devoted to her. Evenings they dined together and talked for hours. He told her about his childhood, his parents who'd died when he was young, the pressure of the title. She told him about her life before the fire, her dreams of painting, her love of music, things she hadn't thought about in years. "You can do those things again," he said. "Paint, play piano, whatever you want. This is your home." He had a music room opened for her, a pianoforte tuned, art supplies brought from London. He gave her freedom to be herself. One afternoon she painted in the garden. She was rusty, but it felt good. He came to watch, sitting on a bench nearby. "You're talented," he said, studying her work. "I'm out of practice." "You'll improve with time." He paused. "Would you paint something for me?" "What?" "Anything. I just want something you've created." She painted him, sitting there in the dappled sunlight, looking peaceful. She tried to capture the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, the way his mouth curved when he was content. When she showed him, he stared at it for a long time. Is this how you see me? He asked quietly. Yes. I look happy. You are happy, aren't you? He looked at her then, really looked at her. Yes, with you, I am. He kissed her then. A real kiss, not just a gentle peck. His mouth moved over hers carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. She leaned in, her hands clutching his coat. He groaned softly and pulled her closer. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I'm falling in love with you, he confessed. I tried not to. I tried to be sensible, but I can't help it. Alexander, she whispered. Tears filled her eyes. Don't cry, unless they're happy tears. I don't know how to feel this, she said honestly. I don't know how to be loved. Then let me teach you. He wiped her tears away. Every day I'll show you, until you believe it. But happiness never lasted. Not for people like Margot. A letter arrived from London, Alexander's family. They'd heard about the marriage. They were coming to meet the new Duchess. Don't worry, Alexander said, though he looked tense. They can't change anything. We're married. But Margot was terrified. His family was important, powerful. What would they think of her? A scarred nobody he'd married on impulse. They arrived 3 days later. Alexander's aunt, Lady Catherine, his cousin, Lord Edmund. Both looked exactly as Margot feared. Elegant, proud, cold. So this is your Duchess, Lady Catherine said, looking Margot up and down. Her gaze lingered on the scar. Her lip curled. This is my wife, Margot, Alexander said firmly. You will treat her with respect. Of course, Lady Catherine said with false sweetness. Though I must say, Alexander, we were all quite shocked. No one had even heard of her family. Her father was a gentleman, Alexander said coldly. That's all that matters. Over the following days, they made their disdain clear. Lady Catherine made snide comments about Margot's clothes, her manners, her appearance. Lord Edmund was kinder but distant, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Margot tried to ignore it, but the old insecurities came flooding back. She was out of place here. She didn't belong. Alexander would realize it eventually. One afternoon, she overheard Lady Catherine speaking to Alexander in his study. She's completely unsuitable, his aunt said. Look at her. That scar. And she has no breeding, no connections. You've made yourself a laughingstock. I don't care what society thinks. But you should. Think of your children. Do you want them to have a mother society whispers about? To be looked down upon because of who you married? Margot's hand flew to her stomach. Children. She hadn't even thought about that. What if they looked like her? What if they were scarred too? Would Alexander regret her then? My children will be loved, Alexander said firmly. That's what matters. You're being foolish, romantic. It will wear off. You'll see her clearly eventually, and you'll regret this. Margot couldn't listen anymore. She fled to the garden, her eyes burning with tears. Maybe Lady Catherine was right. Maybe this was all temporary. Maybe Alexander would wake up one day and see what everyone else saw, a damaged, unworthy girl. She sat by the fountain, crying. She didn't hear him approach. Margot. Alexander's voice was gentle. He sat beside her. What's wrong? Your aunt is right, she choked out. I'm not good enough for you. Everyone can see it. Everyone is wrong. He pulled her close. Listen to me. I chose you, not because I pitied you, not because I was lonely, because you're the only person who makes me feel whole, the only person I can imagine spending my life with. But society. Damn society. They don't live my life. They don't know what's in my heart. He tilted her face up. I love you, Margot. Do you hear me? I love you. Your scar doesn't change that. Your past doesn't change that. Nothing changes that. The words broke something open inside her, a dam of fear and pain. She sobbed against his chest. "I love you too," she whispered. "I'm so afraid of losing you." "You won't. I promise." He held her tight. "We'll send them away, my aunt and cousin. They're not welcome if they can't respect you. They're your family. You're my family now. You're what matters." He meant it. The next morning he told his aunt and cousin to leave. Lady Catherine was furious, but Alexander didn't back down. He stood beside Margot, his hand in hers, and watched them go. "There," he said when their carriage disappeared. "Just us again." Margot felt lighter, freer. He'd chosen her. Over his family, over society, over everything. That night she knocked on the connecting door to his chamber. He opened it, surprise on his face. "Margot?" She stepped into his room. Her heart was pounding, but she was sure. She wanted this, wanted him. "I'm ready," she said softly. "To be your wife, truly." Understanding dawned in his eyes. He cupped her face gently. "Are you certain?" "Yes." He kissed her, softly at first, then deeper. His hands were gentle as they undressed her. He took his time, worshipping every inch of her. When he touched her scar, he pressed kisses along its length. "Beautiful," he murmured. "Every part of you." She'd expected to feel shame, self-consciousness, but she felt only loved, cherished. He looked at her with such tenderness that she wanted to cry. That night, they became husband and wife in truth, and it was everything she'd dreamed it could be. Gentle and passionate and right. Afterward, she lay in his arms. He stroked her hair, his breathing slow and even. "I love you," he said again. "I'll never stop saying it until you believe it." "I'm starting to," she whispered. "You make me believe impossible things." "Like what?" "Like happy endings. Like love that lasts. Like belonging somewhere." "You belong here. With me. Always." She fell asleep smiling, safe in his arms. The next months were blissful. Margot bloomed like a flower in sunshine. She walked the estate with her head high. She got to know the tenants and servants. She renovated parts of the house that needed updating. She was becoming a real duchess, confident and capable. Alexander watched her transformation with pride. She laughed more, smiled more. The haunted look in her eyes was fading. She was healing. They were happy, deeply, thoroughly happy. Until the letter came. It was from Mrs. Harrow. Margot's aunt wrote that Lavinia was being forced into a marriage with a cruel old lord, that they needed money desperately, that surely Margot wouldn't abandon her family. Margot's hands shook as she read it. Guilt crashed over her. She had everything now. Shouldn't she help? "No," Alexander said flatly when she showed him. "This is manipulation." "But Lavinia is reaping what her mother sowed. They treated you abominably. You owe them nothing." "She's still my cousin, still family." "They never treated you like family." He softened, seeing her distress. "If you truly want to help, we'll send money, but you don't need to see them. Don't let them hurt you again." But Margot felt obligated. She convinced Alexander to invite them to Thornwick Hall, just for a few days, to talk. It was a mistake. Mrs. Harrow arrived dripping false sweetness. Lavinia was sullen and jealous. They praised the house, praised Margot's position, asked for money constantly. Margot tried to be gracious. She offered a reasonable sum to help, but it wasn't enough. They wanted more, always more. One evening, Margot found Lavinia alone in the drawing room. "You always were lucky," Lavinia said bitterly. "Even with that hideous scar, you trapped a duke." "I didn't trap anyone," Margot said quietly. "Please, You made him feel sorry for you, played on his grief and loneliness. It's pathetic. Lavinia's eyes were full of venom. He'll tire of you eventually. Men like him always do. And then you'll be right back where you started, alone and worthless. The words hit their mark. All of Margot's old fears rose up. What if Lavinia was right? What if Alexander did tire of her? That night, she was quiet at dinner. Alexander noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing." "Don't lie to me. I can tell when something's bothering you." She should tell him, but shame kept her silent. She was being foolish, letting Lavinia's poison in. She needed to be stronger, but the doubts lingered. The next day, she overheard Mrs. Harrow talking to a visiting neighbour. They didn't know she was in the next room. "Poor Duke Thornwick," Mrs. Harrow said, "shackled to that scarred creature. I'm sure he regrets it dreadfully, but he's too honourable to say so." "She does seem plain," the neighbour agreed. "Oh, she trapped him cleverly, made him feel like a hero. But that won't last. Give it time. He'll find a mistress and she'll be left alone in this big house, just as she deserves." The words cut deep, so deep. Margot fled before they could see her. She ran to her room and locked the door. Was it true? Did people think she'd trapped him? Did Alexander regret her? She looked at herself in the mirror. The scar stared back. She'd almost forgotten about it lately. Alexander made her feel beautiful. But maybe that was the lie. Maybe everyone else saw the truth. That evening, Alexander found her crying. "What happened?" he demanded. "Who hurt you?" She couldn't tell him. Couldn't admit how weak she was, how easily words could destroy her. "I want them gone," she said instead. "My aunt and Lavinia. Please, send them away." "Done." He pulled her close. "I'll do it tonight. But tell me what they said to you." "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me. Margot, please." She told him. Everything. Lavinia's cruelty, her aunt's gossip, her own doubts and fears. He listened, his jaw getting tighter and tighter. When she finished, he stood. His face was like thunder. "Stay here," he said. She heard raised voices downstairs. Alexander's cold, commanding tone, her aunt's protests, then silence. The front door slammed. Alexander returned. He looked calmer but still angry. "They're gone. I sent them away with nothing but train fare." He sat beside her. "And I told them if they ever speak about you again, I'll ruin them socially. Utterly." "Alexander." "No, listen to me. I'm going to say this once and you're going to believe it." He took her hands. "I have never regretted marrying you. Not for 1 second. Not for 1 breath. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You saved me from a cold, empty life. You brought light and love and laughter back to this house. To me." Tears streamed down her face. "Every day I wake up grateful that you're mine," he continued. "Every day I see your face and think how lucky I am. Your scar doesn't make you less beautiful. It makes you more beautiful because it's part of you, part of your story, part of what made you into the strong, kind, incredible woman I love." "I'm not strong," she whispered. "You are. You're the strongest person I know. You survived cruelty and pain and kept your heart soft. That takes more strength than anything else." He wiped her tears away. "Don't let them take this from us. Don't let their poison ruin what we've built." "I don't want to," she said, "but I'm so afraid." "Then be afraid, but be afraid with me. Let me help carry it. Let me prove to you every day that you're loved, that you're wanted, that you belong here." She threw her arms around him. He held her tight, rocking her gently. "I love you," she sobbed. "I love you so much. I'm sorry I doubted." "Don't be sorry, just trust me. Trust this." They stayed like that for a long time, healing, reconnecting, remembering what mattered. Winter came to Thornwick Hall. Snow blanketed the grounds. Margot and Alexander spent evenings by the fire, wrapped in each other's arms. The hurt from her aunt's visit faded. Trust rebuilt itself stronger than before. One morning, Margot woke feeling ill. She rushed to the basin. Alexander was at her side immediately, holding her hair back. "I'm fine," she gasped. "Something I ate." But it happened again the next morning. And the next. Understanding dawned slowly. The doctor confirmed it. She was pregnant, with child, growing a life inside her. Alexander's face when she told him would stay with her forever. Joy, wonder, fear, love, all at once. "A baby," he breathed. "Our baby." "Are you happy?" she asked nervously. "Happy?" he laughed. "Margot, I'm terrified and thrilled and... yes, so happy." He touched her stomach reverently. "A child. Our child." But old fears rose up. What if something goes wrong? What if... Don't think about that. He pulled her close. "We'll get the best doctors, the best care. I won't lose you." The pregnancy was difficult. Margot was sick often. Alexander barely left her side. He held her when she was ill, read to her when she was weak, talked to her stomach when she was feeling better. "I want them to know my voice," he explained, "to know they're loved already." "They might not like you," she teased weakly. "Impossible. They're half you. They'll be perfect." As her belly grew, so did her fears. She remembered Lady Catherine's words about children, about society whispering. What if their child was scarred like her? What if Alexander couldn't love them? She asked him one night, her voice small. "What if the baby looks like me? What if they have marks or scars or—" "Then they'll be beautiful," he interrupted firmly. "Like their mother. I'll love them no matter what. How could I not? They're part of you." The birth was long and difficult. Margot screamed and cried and begged for it to end. Alexander refused to leave despite the doctor's protests. He held her hand through every contraction. "You can do this," he kept saying. "You're so strong. Just a little more." Finally, a baby's cry filled the room. The doctor held up a tiny, squalling infant. "A girl, Your Grace," the doctor said. Alexander cut the cord with shaking hands. The baby was cleaned and wrapped and placed in Margot's arms. She looked down at the tiny face. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. No marks, no scars, just pink skin and dark fuzz on her head. "She's beautiful," Margot whispered. "Like her mother," Alexander said, tears running down his face. "What should we name her?" "Catherine," Margot said. "After your mother." "Are you sure?" "Yes. I want her to carry on good things, to make new, happy memories for that name." They named their daughter Catherine Rose. She had her father's gray eyes and her mother's delicate features. She was perfect. Margot healed slowly. Alexander wouldn't let her lift a finger. He brought Catherine to her for feedings, changed nappies himself when the nurse wasn't looking, walked the floors with his daughter when she cried at night. Watching him with their baby made Margot fall in love with him all over again. He was tender and careful and completely devoted. One night, she found him in the nursery. He was holding Catherine, singing softly. The baby was asleep on his chest. The sight made Margot's heart ache with love. "She has you wrapped around her tiny finger already," Margot said softly. He smiled without looking up. "I was lost the moment I saw her, just like with her mother." Margot moved to his side. They stood together, watching their daughter sleep. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For saving me. For loving me. For giving me this life." "You saved me first," he corrected. "You brought me back to life, gave me purpose and joy, and now this perfect little girl. I'm the grateful one." Catherine stirred, making little noises. Her tiny hand grabbed Alexander's finger. He looked down at her with such love that Margot wanted to cry. "I never thought I could have this," he admitted. "After losing my first wife and son, I thought this kind of happiness was over for me. But you gave it back. You gave me everything." "We gave it to each other," Margot said. He kissed her gently. "Yes, we did." Years passed. Catherine grew into a bright, happy child. She had her father's confidence and her mother's kindness. 2 more children followed, a boy named Thomas and another girl named Eleanor. The nursery that had been empty was full of laughter and noise. The halls that had echoed with loneliness now rang with children's voices. Thornwick Hall was alive again. Margot became everything a duchess should be. She managed the household. She helped tenants. She hosted gatherings. But more than that, she was happy. Truly happy. Her scar faded with time, but she stopped covering it. She wore her hair back proudly. It was part of her story, part of what made her who she was. Society eventually accepted her. Some still whispered, but most saw the truth. The Duke of Thornwick was devoted to his wife. His children were healthy and happy. His household was prosperous. One spring afternoon, Margot walked through the gardens with Alexander. The children played nearby, their nurse watching. Roses bloomed everywhere. The same roses she'd been cutting the day they first really spoke. "Do you remember?" Alexander asked, following her gaze. "How could I forget? I was terrified of you. I was terrified of what I was feeling, how quickly you'd gotten under my skin." She leaned against him. "I never imagined this. That day in my aunt's garden, I thought I'd spend my whole life alone, unloved, unworthy. You were always worthy. You just needed someone to show you. You did more than show me, you made me believe it." He turned her to face him. His hand came up to cup her scarred cheek the way he always did. The gesture that had become so familiar, so loving. "I still see you the way I saw you that first day," he said. "Beautiful, wounded, strong, mine." "And I still can't believe you're mine," she admitted. "Sometimes I think I'll wake up and this will all be a dream." "Then let me remind you it's real." He kissed her, soft and deep and full of promise. The children's laughter floated over. Catherine called for them to come see something. They broke apart, smiling. "Our life," Alexander said. "Everything I never knew I needed." Margot took his hand. They walked toward their children together, toward the life they'd built from pain and loneliness, toward the love that had saved them both. Behind them, roses bloomed in the warm sun, the garden where everything had begun, where a broken girl and a lonely duke had found each other, where they'd learned that sometimes the most beautiful love stories come from the darkest places, that scars don't make you less worthy of love, that happy endings are possible even when you've stopped believing in them. Margot looked back once at the garden, at the roses and the bench where they'd first talked, where he'd first told her she was beautiful. She smiled. She finally believed it. Not because her scar was gone, but because she'd learned to see herself through his eyes, through love's eyes, and that made all the difference. Years later, when Catherine was old enough to understand, Margot told her daughter the story, about the cruel house and the kind duke, about finding love in unexpected places. "So you see," Margot said, touching her scar, "this mark that I thought made me unlovable? It's part of what made me who I am, part of what brought me to your father." Catherine touched her mother's face gently. "I think it's beautiful." "Why?" "Because it's yours, because it's part of your story, because it made you brave." Margot's eyes filled with tears. Her daughter had learned the lesson she'd taken so long to understand, that beauty isn't about perfection, it's about surviving, growing, loving despite the pain. That night, Alexander found her in their room. She was crying happy tears. "What is it?" he asked, concerned. Catherine said my scar was beautiful, that it made me brave. He smiled and pulled her close. She's wise, our daughter. She knows the truth. What truth? That scars are just proof that you survived, that you're still here, still fighting, still loving. He kissed her forehead. Your scar is beautiful because it's part of you, and everything about you is beautiful to me. After all these years, he could still make her believe it, make her feel it. That was the real magic of love. Not that it made scars disappear, but that it made them matter less, made them part of a bigger story, a story with a happy ending. Margot fell asleep in her husband's arms, surrounded by the sounds of their children sleeping nearby. Safe, loved, home. The girl who'd thought herself unworthy had found everything she'd never dared to dream, and the Duke who'd thought himself dead inside had found life again. Together, they'd built something beautiful, something lasting, something true. A love story written in scars and second chances, in kindness and courage, in the magic of seeing someone truly and loving them anyway. Or perhaps loving them more because of what they'd survived. And they lived happily, truly, deeply, wonderfully happily, ever after.